All right, welcome to Talk.dance. This is your podcast about all things dancing, partner dancing, and social dancing. I'm one of your hosts, Kelly. This is your other host, David. Hey, David, tell us where they can find us.
Kelly, they can find us at Talk.dance. That's the URL for our podcast. And it's also the name of our podcast. And you can find me specifically at David at Talk.dance. And Kelly, they can find you at...
You can find me at kellypalmer.com. I also do other radio shows, and you can find all the information about the projects I'm on or I'm into right there on my website. David, also, to throw it back to you, don't forget to talk about that really cool, awesome thing that you did, that app you created. I see the shirt you've got on. Tell us really quickly about that.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. So some of you might know about Find.dance. Find.dance is an app that I've been involved in creating that's to really about helping social dance enthusiasts find places to go social dancing. And you can basically open up the app and you can say, where can I go dancing tonight, by default, and it'll use your current location, or you can put in a different location anywhere in the country currently. So if you want to say, where can I go dancing in Chicago, like where Kelly's at, tomorrow or next week, you can get that information. So for all the reasons, we've decided that we want to do this new podcast because we're just nuts about social dancing, and we want to bring that to the world and share that with people. The app is one way of doing that, and that's one reason I started that some months back, and we're going to do something similar with the podcast.
Excellent. Very cool. So speaking of the podcast, let's let everyone know what we're going to get into. We're going to talk about all different aspects of social dancing, right? If it's involved in social dancing, we're going to do our best to get to it. Things like dance etiquette, things like music, things like events to hit. David, jump on in anytime.
Yeah, and we're gonna go a little bit broader as well and talk about things that we think dance enthusiasts in the community might be interested in. So we hope to talk about some of the great things that people are doing with kids in dance. So there's programs like Dancing Classrooms where they're really trying to help transform kids in the inner cities, for example, by bringing dance into their lives and having really great success. Some of the things that are happening in the medical fields, especially with certain forms of mental health and dancing. I think we might also want to get into even some history, history of certain dances and stuff. There's a lot of really interesting stuff that I'm hoping to learn much more about in the course of this podcast. And we hope you do too.
Yeah, me too. Me as well, man. I'm super pumped. I'm super excited. Also, we're going to be interviewing people. Like you said, we're going to be talking about the kids and different programs to get people involved and the health benefits of dance. But we're also going to be doing our best to interview people, big names in dance any way you see it, whether they're a world champion competitor or they're a social dancer who's been dancing like 6 months. Like, we're not going to discriminate at all. We're going to try to talk to as many different dancers about dance as we can. And we'll also be going to events and talking to people there. I'm super pumped about this. I'm super pumped also to get into maybe some product reviews, right? Like, I don't know about you, man, but trying to find a ballroom dance shoe that worked for me took me many, many times of trial and error. So
for me, it took weeks of trying to find a deodorant that is somewhat effective.
Yes, little things like that people don't realize. You know what I mean? You've been working all day. You might have a little funk. Maybe slap some deodorant on, right? Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, so Kelly, for those in our audience who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. I've been dancing now since 2000. And it was January 1st. I took my first lesson in 2000. So I'll never forget that day. I started off with Lindy, or like East Coast swing style, and just was obsessed about it. Shortly after, I started learning other styles of dance, all of the social dances, right? Your salsa, your bachata, your hustle, your West Coast. Like if it was a social dance, I wanted to learn it. And then eventually I got into ballroom dancing. I worked for Arthur Murray for about 8 or 9 years. Learned American style, both smooth and rhythm. And then now I'm independent again, so traveling, teaching, and dancing. But I really love social dancing. Has always been the root of my dancing and what just really gets me to love about dancing. What about you, David?
Very cool. Yeah, so I got into dancing a little bit later. I was probably hmm, about 40, I guess. And I never danced before. We used to take my wife and I. We used to take our kids to a language school on the weekends, and they had
Okay.
some activities for the kids. And the one year, my wife said, they've got this couple that's teaching ballroom dancing, and why don't we try that? And my reaction, my honest reaction was, oh God, ballroom dancing. How square is that? Uh,
Yeah,
but
totally true, right?
I,
I had
I,
the
I knew
same
nothing.
thing.
I knew nothing about it, but that was my perception.
Yeah.
And but for the sake of marital harmony, I thought, well, we'll try this, and it probably won't last long. And to my shock, I absolutely loved it. I was horrible, but I loved it, and it was ballroom, like the ballroom dances, waltz, foxtrot, tango, and Latin dances as well. And it was an amateur couple teaching. There was a fairly decent amateur couple, and I was inspired. Um, they were good dancers. The both of them were really really good. And at some point, we decided to take real lessons, like from a real dance
Mhm.
professional at a dance studio. And I was fortunate enough to uh, take lessons from quite a famous dancer, a guy named Clive Phillips, big tall
Oh
guy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Tall
And
dude, man. Tall dude. I love it.
yeah. I'm 6'3". He's probably like 6'4", and he was a big inspiration for me because I'm a clumsy guy. I really am. Like, no, anytime I try a new physical activity,
Yep.
nothing comes to me easily, right? I'm always like really
Yep.
awkward in the beginning.
I hear you.
And seeing him dance was really an inspiration, because I could see, like, wow, a tall guy can be graceful and not awkward, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a big change for me. So I've been dancing for, I'd say, 12 years.
Okay.
And yeah,
Nice.
really enjoying. And I'm into pretty much any kind of partner dancing there is, right? So I haven't,
Yeah.
not that I've tried them all, but I love doing Argentine tango. I love doing ballroom.
Hmm.
Love doing the Latin dances, West Coast swing. Yeah, some of them I know much more than others, but
Well,
I enjoy them all.
that's the case, right? We always know a little bit more about the subjects we're into, right, than the other subjects. That's a weird thing to say, but I mean, you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Honestly, I think we should chat with Clive at some point on here. We should get him on here. Um, Other things we're going to talk about are ideas, right? Like the ideas of group class versus private lesson, because you just talked about you started with a group class. I did too. I think that's how a lot of people get into it. But nowadays, who knows? I mean, and we want interaction from people who are listening. So if you're listening to this, where can they contact us again, David?
Our URL is talk.dance. You can find me at David at talk.dance. Kelly at
Oh,
talk.dance will work as well. We both have our personal contact um, addresses as well. You
yeah.
want to tell us about yours again?
Well, mine's at kellypalmer.com, but I'm really excited about this Talk.dance because I want to know what you want to hear about, right? Like you as the listener, what do you want to talk about dance? What do you want to hear about, right? Like it may be something we haven't even thought of, which I would love. I'm a total geek about dance, all forms of dance, partner dancing, everything. So I'm really excited for this podcast to just touch as much as we can about dance, partner
Yeah,
dancing, social dance.
we'd really love your feedback. That's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our interests are pretty broad, and so we'd like to take this anywhere you guys would like us to take it too.
Excellent. We will be putting a podcast out every week, so stay tuned for that. And we thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
In the meantime, keep dancing.